Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a totally wild story about taking a sudden, out-of-nowhere burst of inspiration and turning it into a fully functional reality right from the smartphone sitting in your pocket. We are exploring this massive collision between a new wave of artificial intelligence and the incredibly strict rules that actually govern the digital world we use every single day.
So picture this. You're walking down the street, or maybe you're just standing in line waiting for your coffee, and bam, a brilliant million-dollar app idea just pops right into your head. But then, almost as quickly as it showed up, the excitement kind of fades. Why? Well, because you don't know how to code. You're not a software engineer, right? And the barrier to actually building that app just feels impossibly high. Well, what if I told you that barrier isn't just lowering, it's actually completely disappearing?
Section 1. The Vibe Coding Revolution.
Okay, let's dive into this. Back in late April 2026, a startup named Lovable made a massive splash by officially launching their brand new app on both the Apple iOS and Google Android stores. And look, this isn't just any app. It represents a fundamental shift in how software is actually created. To really get why Lovable is such a game changer, we have to define the space they're playing in, which is called vibe coding. Instead of sitting there typing out lines of complex programming languages like Python or Swift, vibe coding bridges the gap between everyday natural language and functional software. You just use voice or text prompts to essentially convey the vibe or the intention of what you want to build. You're relying on a no-code AI builder to do all the heavy lifting of translating your plain English into working code. The way Lovable pulls this off is beautifully straightforward. Step 1, you just use your voice or text to prompt an idea the exact second it strikes you. Step 2, an AI agent takes that input and just runs autonomously in the background. It writes the code, structures the application, and handles all the technical grunt work while you literally just go about your day. And step 3, you simply get a notification on your device when the build is ready for you to review. It's basically the ultimate magic trick for capturing your ideas instantly from anywhere.
And it doesn't even stop at your phone. Lovable has built this to be incredibly fluid. You can seamlessly switch between your mobile device and your desktop computer, picking up exactly where you left off on any given project. This really highlights the boundless, on-the-go creative freedom this tech offers developers. You're no longer chained to some giant multi-monitor desk setup just to be a software developer. Your development environment is literally wherever you happen to be.
Section 2. Apple's App Store Crackdown.
Now, building apps by just talking to your phone sounds like absolute magic, right? But to truly appreciate Lovable's launch, we have to introduce a bit of an antagonist into our story. We've got to look at the highly controlled, rigid ecosystem they are stepping into, specifically Apple's App Store. You see, Lovable's launch is actually pretty surprising because it comes right on the heels of Apple taking incredibly strict action against several high-profile competitors in this exact space. Apple recently blocked updates for popular vibe coding tools like Replit and Vibecode for violating their developer guidelines. Another app called Anything was actually temporarily removed from the App Store entirely. It only managed to get back in earlier this month after making some really significant changes. So the environment Lovable is entering, it's essentially a minefield for this specific type of technology.
Section 3, the security dilemma. So why exactly was Apple dropping the hammer on these innovative apps? Well, it's important to clarify here that Apple wasn't actually banning the concept of vibe coding or AI generation itself. The whole issue was entirely about how these apps were executing the code they just generated. So the crucial point is Apple's strict rule, which essentially states no downloading new code or changing functionality after an app has already been approved. See, when you use these earlier vibe coding apps, the AI would write new code and then actively run that entirely new, unvetted software directly inside the host app right there on your iPhone.
Now, honestly, from Apple's perspective, this is a massive red flag. Dynamic functionality changes present a very real security risk to end users. If an app can just suddenly change what it does or run brand new code on the fly, malicious actors could theoretically use that mechanism to bypass Apple's security altogether. Plus, it completely prevents Apple's app review team from properly vetting the app during the whole approval process. Think about it. If an app is basically a blank canvas that can become anything at a moment's notice, how can Apple guarantee it's safe for their users? It's a very legitimate security concern.
Section 4. The web browser workaround.
Which brings us to a really fascinating crossroads. How do developers bring the magic of dynamic AI coding into a closed ecosystem without breaking the strict security rules? Well, innovation almost always finds a way to navigate the walled garden. And this brilliantly illustrates the clever technical compromise that actually saved vibe coding movement on mobile. The old way, the one getting everyone in trouble, involved running the generated apps natively inside the host app itself. The new way?
The workaround is that those generated app previews are moved completely out of the app and right into the device's web browser, like Safari or Chrome.
And that brings us full circle right back to our main subject today. Lovable successfully navigated this tricky landscape and launched on both the iOS and Android stores precisely because they utilized this exact workaround. Lovable complies with Apple's strict guidelines by allowing users to turn their AI prompts into working websites or web applications rather than native device code running inside the app itself. It gives you, the user, the exact same magical feeling of instantly creating software from a vibe, but it does it entirely within the safe, sandboxed environment of a web browser, and that keeps the App Store rulemakers perfectly happy.
It is a brilliant compromise for now. But man, it leaves us with a massive question as we wrap up this explainer. As artificial intelligence continues to make coding accessible to literally anyone with a smartphone and a good idea, the friction between rapid innovation and platform regulation is only going to increase. I mean, if web apps become just as powerful as native apps, will AI app builders eventually just outgrow the App Store entirely? It's a fascinating conflict, and for sure, it's one that will define the next decade of software. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on how this technology evolves.